dressed up. Danny did his hair, he's all dressed up. Danny Shaw.
Welcome to the August 6th regular town council meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chairperson Phillips.
Here.
Councilor Sims.
Here.
Councilor Wilder-Cross.
Here.
Councilor Pratt. Present. Councilor Gagnon.
Present.
Councilor LaVoy.
Present.
Councilor Siegel.
Present.
For the acceptance of the minutes of the July 2nd regular town council meeting, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second by Councilor Wilder-Cross. All those in favor? 7 yeas. Now we're going to move on to open public communications. This is a time for people to come to the podium, state your name and address for an item that is not on the agenda tonight. So if anybody would like to speak on something that's not on the agenda, please come up.
Good evening, councilors. Mike D'Arcangelo, 15 Cooper's Way. So, Connector, I know you're tired of hearing about it, but it's such an important issue for so many people. So just want to say a couple quick things. Thanks to the current and past council and Town of Gorham employees who, over the years, have done a lot of work to address Gorham issues, including traffic. Difficult, complex issues, often with no simple answers. A couple of meetings ago, Councilor Gagnon expressed frustration that at many public meetings that he attended, no one showed up from the public regarding the connector. And I can certainly understand how that was frustrating. I'm not sure why that happened. But at this point, it is in the past. What is important at this time is that based on the March 25th meeting this year, as well as subsequent council meetings since March, and the petition signed by over 1,000 people who I believe was submitted to the council last meeting, it is becoming very clear that most people, including Gorham citizens, do not want the connector to be built. Some recent language from the Maine Turnpike Authority indicates that even they are beginning to understand that the connector should only be built if citizens that are going to be impacted want it. An MTA representative recently began a statement by saying, if the project goes forward. So this is not a done deal by any means at this time. It does not have to be built. Because the because the council represents citizens of Gorham, and since most citizens do not want the connector, it is my hope that this council will do whatever it can to stop this project before it goes any further. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on something not on the agenda? All right, seeing no one, open public communications now closed. We'll move on to councilor communications, and I'll start on my right with Councilor Siegel.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just like to report that the next ordinance committee meeting is at 10 a.m. on August 22nd. So if anyone is interested in what we will be discussing, please, it is once again 10 a.m. August 22nd in conference room A, which is right down the hall here in this building. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor LaVoy.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Sims.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is another joint fiscal sustainability committee meeting on Monday, the 26th of August at, I believe it's 6 p.m. start time, and I encourage residents to follow along with that work, as we are doing a lot of work with town staff, other members of the community to help just better make sure all the information is available to the public regarding the town budget. It's obviously a very large and complicated set of numbers, so I really encourage folks to try to engage. You can attend the meetings, you can follow along online, and I really encourage folks to continue to try to educate themselves as best they can. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pratt.
Oh, excuse me. So nothing really to report other than, as always, donate blood, donate blood, donate blood. Please, 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 I'm begging you, donate blood. We're at a national shortage right now, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Wilder-Cross.
I'm going to disappoint everybody. I don't have a lot to say. The GP cog doesn't meet in the summertime, so I don't have anything to say from them. I wanted to remind folks that our On South is going to happen. Will be at the Preble Street Common, and it will be Saturday, September 7th. It starts at 10 in the morning, and I think that it goes until 2. If there are any artists or crafters who would like to have a booth for that, if you go to the Gorham Village Alliance Facebook page, I think you can get the information you want there. And if you can't do that, then I think if you call the town hall, you could maybe get an email address for who to contact for that. But if we don't have exhibitors, we won't have much reason to go. And I wanted to thank all of the residents who took the time to send emails and letters and statistics and reports to me, and I think to the rest of us. Sometimes when I see 10 or 15 letters from folks, at first I think, well, I've got to sit down, put my glasses on, and really pay attention to this. But I got thinking today that too often we hear from folks after a vote. We hear complaints after, and it could very well be that if we had more input from you folks, then we'd feel better prepared when we're ready to make our decision too. So thank you to all of you who took the time. I actually read them and I responded to all that I could. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gagnon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next SIPS meeting will be August 15th. For those who are interested in attending, the agenda hasn't been set yet, but will be available online. School starts in roughly 3 weeks. I know most kids don't want to hear that. Info can be seen on the school website. Please, as always, drive safely. The first week of school, a lot of people are hectic, and there'll be more traffic delays than will be expected. Finally, the council received a letter from the MTA, Maine Turnpike Authority, on August 5th, saying they are committed to the corridor project and will improve communications with the public going forward. I appreciated the email, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have nothing to add, so I'm going to go to the town manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two quick things in the interest of time this evening. Reminder, August 23rd is Gorham Rec's Glow in the Park at Shaw Park, very popular event in the evening. And just a reminder too, the ever popular Summer Thursdays up in Little Falls in the evenings. We have food trucks up there at the Old Roby School and the ball fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for the town manager? All right.
Public hearing number 1 on item 2024-8-2. Public hearing to hear comment on a proposal to issue a renewal medical marijuana license to Andrew Clow, White Pine Technologies, LLC, 15 Pearson's Drive, property owned by Bob Pearson, administrator sponsored.
Public hearing number 1 is now open. If anyone wants to speak on this item, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, public hearing is closed.
Proposed order 24-101, order that the town council issue a renewal medical marijuana license to Andrew Clow, White Pine Technology, LLC, 15 Pearson's Drive, property owned by Bob Pearson.
Is there a motion for the item?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor Sims. We all received the information. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
One question.
Yes.
So inspection from the fire department was scheduled for August 8th. So that will just be a condition, correct? That if they don't pass said inspection, then what we approve tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2024-8-3, action to consider sending a contract zone concept to expand mineral extraction for Shaw Brothers Construction Incorporated to the Town Council's Ordinance Committee. Councilor Gagnon sponsored. Proposed order 24-105, order that the Town Council forwards to the Ordinance Committee for review and recommendation, adding a contract zone with restrictions for mineral extraction on map 34, lot 14, adjacent to the Brickyard Quarry.
Madam Chair, I work for Shaw Brothers Construction. It is a direct financial conflict of interest, so I will be recusing myself. I don't see the need for a vote because I'm telling you, I'm
Yep.
recusing myself, so, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there a motion on the item?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Yep. Is there a second on the item?
Council Chair, would this be the time for public comment? Or
No,
once the
it
second?
has to have a...
Second.
Yeah, it has to have a
all right,
second
that's what I
first, so. Okay, Councilor Lavoy? All right, so I do want to say a couple things now that we've had a motion and a second. I want to remind the council and the public that the item that we're discussing is the review of a possible contract zone for an expansion for the Brickyard Quarry, and we're basically voting tonight not on the contract zone itself, but whether or not to send it to the ordinance committee. So we won't be deciding any terms of the contract zone tonight or anything like that. It's not an approval of the contract zone. That comes later. So this is just voting to send this discussion to the ordinance committee. I think there's a lot of information that needs to be gathered, needs to be heard by us at the ordinance committee meeting. So I think that that'll be a perfect time to get everybody around the table to talk about this. But I would also just caution people, we are going to open it up for public comment, but just caution people and remind them that we're not discussing any of the regulations, changes, or anything like that tonight. And if the town manager could give kind of an overview of the process and how this works, and what happens if we send it to the ordinance committee.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. So for this process for a contract zone in the town of Gorham, if the council endorses this tonight, it'll move to the council's ordinance committee, where they'll review kind of a framework of what that contract zone could look like. They'll kind of work out the general details of that. They'll send it back to the town council. The council will vote on whether or not to send that to the planning board. If the council sends it to the planning board, it goes to the planning board. It may go to a planning board subcommittee. They'll have a public hearing and vote on it. Send it back to the council, where you will have another public hearing and another vote on it, if that makes sense. So probably at least a 6-month process turnaround.
Okay.
Just one point of clarification there, not to nitpick, but just the language used there. You indicated if the council endorses this tonight, just to be clear, just on the wording, we're being asked to consider sending a contract zone to the ordinance committee. That's not an endorsement.
Correct. Your endorsement this evening would be to send it to the ordinance committee. You would not be endorsing any specific project, any specific conditions. Yes, your approval of the order would start this process. The council would have 2 more chances to weigh in on it, as well as the planning board for a recommendation and 2 public hearings.
Madam Chair, I would like to encourage all of the residents who are watching and those of you who are here who have an investment in this, to be sure to send all of that information off to the ordinance committee. That what you shared with all of us is something that they all need to be able to consider too. And then they'll be prepared for the public comment. Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just to reiterate to people, the next ordinance committee meeting is August 22nd at 10 a.m. in conference room A. So everyone knows, August 22nd, 10 a.m.
Do you have other items on the agenda for the ordinance committee that come before that, or is it definitely going to be on at that meeting?
Oh, we have a lot of items on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, but the current ordinance committee agenda is not clarified for the month yet. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, to clarify the process of the town council, typically when an item goes to a committee, if it's a very simple item, it might come right back. A more complex item, such as this, the committee will just generally has a general conversation, fact-finding, and then ask staff to dig deeper into it with all the involved parties. So it could be at a subcommittee for 2 to 3 months, but it depends on the committee and their involvement.
You are correct, Madam Chair, that we have a lot on the agenda, and so it might not even
Okay.
be
I just didn't
touched on
want
next time.
people to...
But you can check the agenda online, which is usually available 1 week before the committee meeting. Okay.
All right, so I guess we'll open it up at this time. If people want to speak on this item, feel free to come up. We have a timer. There's a 3-minute time limit. So just know that if it's flashing red at you, your 3 minutes are up. Just come up and state your name. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So, I know you want us to be brief, so I'll do my best. My name is Hannah Hamblin. I am here to speak on behalf of my mother and a community group concerned about the impacts of quarries and gravel pits on the health and environment in Gorham. Now, I do understand the kind of structure of how this all works, but we would like to ask you guys to vote against moving this to the ordinance committee today, simply to allow more time for these things to be considered, researched, thought through. You say 2 to 3 months when you're working full time, and this is a passion project, something you care deeply about. You can't move as quickly as, full-time employees of a quarry. So that is why we're here today. So as you all know, this agenda item would vote to establish a contract zone, move establishing a contract zone to the ordinance committee for the expansion of the Brickyard Quarry. Our group that I represent to some extent has 170 members on Facebook and has been steadily growing over the past few months. Most members are property owners who live within a few square miles of the Brickyard Quarry. They're complaining of noise pollution, blasting that causes intense vibrations within their homes, and visible dust coating their cars, windows, and pools. We're currently most concerned about the dust. I sent you guys a document on that, so I'm hoping that you had the time to read it. But if you didn't, I'll give a real quick synopsis of that. So quarry's neighbors see dust emanating from the quarry and landing on their properties. Based on our research, that likely means that there is invisible dust, which is particulate matter that is imperceptible to the human eye. Per the EPA, this dust is a very serious health concern. It can enter your lungs and bloodstream, causing premature death in people with heart or lung disease, non-fatal heart attacks, irregular heartbeats, aggravated asthma, decreased lung function, and increased respiratory problems. We reviewed the town and state regulations, and it doesn't look like any of them apply to imperceptible dust. It only applies to visible dust, which is not what we're concerned about. Or we are concerned about it, but not to the same health extent as we are this much smaller particulate matter. Yesterday, I sent you guys an aerial photo of the property we're talking about. It is just under 50 acres, so it's a pretty significant property. I think the footprint of the current quarry and the whole staging yard and additional pieces is something like 88-ish acres, but I'm sure you guys can correct me on that. So that's about 2 miles from the Gorham Town Center. I use UPS Every Door Direct Mail tool to identify the 2 mail routes currently impacted by the quarry, based on the anecdotal evidence we've collected in the group. These routes include about 988 residences. We have to assume that some of these routes include addresses that are not impacted and also exclude addresses that are not impacted. So if we want to conservatively assume that about 750 households might be impacted by the quarry's impacts. From the 2022 census, Gorham has 18,336 residents. The average household size in these routes is about 2.5 people. So if you multiply 2.5 by 750, you get about 1,800 residents that may be impacted by the quarry impacts. So that
Ms.
is about
Hamblin, your 3 minutes are up, so.
10% of the population.
Okay.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
So in conclusion, we would like you guys to consider the health and safety of your citizens that you represent, and do not send this to the ordinance committee today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarification, I've got 2 people who've asked me to speak for them tonight, and I would like to talk for myself. Do I get 3 minutes on each?
If they gave something in writing, they can give it to the clerk.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
What?
If they provided
I was
something
going
in
to say,
writing.
if you have something in writing, it can be given to the clerk and it'll be put in the record if you have.
Oh, absolutely, I have it in writing, and I actually brought Nicoletta Dalton with me, who's not comfortable talking with her voice right now, and she sent me a 5-page summary of her concerns.
Okay, do you want to just give that to the council, or do you, you've got to read it in 3 minutes, I guess, is the whole. No, I don't. Okay. I have a. Okay.
I would like to just summarize it, and then I'll give it to you, if that's okay. So Nicoletta moved in Gateway Commons. She lives on 99 Gateway Commons, moved in 2002. She's about 1,000 feet from the quarry. And she's been involved since the first time. She has this chronological order of all the blasting, who she's talked to, the blasting company she's talked to. She shows where part of our kitchen living room ceiling and walls seem to have to be removed because what she believes is impact from the blasting around there. She has talked to the state, she has talked to the town, she has talked to Shaw Brothers. She continues seeing spider cracks in her ceiling over the last 4 years and doesn't feel as that she has got great response from the town or anybody else to respond to what the impact she feels she's impacting. She also brought up a very interesting thing. Her father grew up at some kind of stonework, and you grew up a mile away from a quarry? So she knows what a quarry is impact. She's done it in her life, but she believes the impact here is much larger. And she brought up something I was kind of surprised at too. The lithium battery facility, I don't know if that's been approved, but bringing up the idea of lithium seems to be a little bit more unstable around blasts, and wondered if we as an organization or the town had looked at that. So I'm going to keep that really short, Nicoletta, if that's okay. I will get you guys a copy of this, but she is a great resource. She has a file of all the contacts she's made through all the years, over 20 years in the organization. So we, I think, as a town, should spend more time talking to her.
Yep, I appreciate that. And Charlie, you can have your own 3 minutes.
Okay, so let me give you a second one first, and then I'll go to my own 30
right.
real fast. This is from a Sarah Allison on 15 Queen Street. I am Sarah Allison of 15 Queen Street, Gorham. I lived in Gorham since 1984, located 0.6 miles from Shaw Brothers BPET at 341 Mosier Road, and less as the crow flies. I realize that we all need the materials to want to produce, but the plant is close to the largest population of Gorham, although there was a 30-foot berms built and more trees planted to protect the butters. Others were removed, and the berm didn't do much good. I am greatly impacted already by the Shaw Brother Quarry and asphalt plant on a daily basis. It's like I'm living next door to a construction site, the trucks on Mosier Road and Queen Street. At the quarry, air braking, beeping, and the backup signals dust to the presence of nauseating smell of asphalt to the blasting that rattles the whole house. I get phone calls to warn me so our dogs are not outside at the time and the blasting company takes a graph of my property. Queen Street used to be posted as a weight-limited road, and the trucks now use it only during construction. Then they are building a road onto Queen Street. So my road is quite busy all the time, building up the property. How will it be when they expand? I spoke briefly years ago about the quarry and asphalt plant, but much has already been decided by the time it reached that point. I said that it would ruin my life as I know it, creating noise, pollution, and the peace I knew would forever change. It has. I wanted my children and grandchildren to be able to have this place to live and grow where they enjoy their childhood. Now I am unsure it will happen. Sarah Allison.
Thank you.
And the third one, so I pulled this off of the internet real quickly, the zoning regulations. This chapter is designed for all the purposes of zoning embraced in the main statutes and has been drafted as an integral part of the comprehensive plan for the town of Gorham to promote health, safety, and general welfare of the residents. Among other things, it's all about taking the citizens, making sure we have a wholesome home environment. So what really surprised me, we were at 2 meetings ago, and a group of people got up and asked for a look at the quarry regulations of the town of Gorham and said that we need to do a better job. And we were shot down. We didn't make very far with that proposal. Now, 2 months later, all of a sudden they want to expand the quarry, and nobody has talked to anybody that I'm aware of in this group at all who are questioning why this quarry expansion and the impact on us. Don't really understand why the citizens aren't at the table with us, but somehow the quarry moves forward, whether we're part of it or not. So pisses me right off. But I also own all the property on the east side of this quarry, and if it expands, it's going to take increasing amount of that. It's about 130 acres. If you ride back through that, or walk through those trails, it's ridiculously loud when they're in operation. In my mind, it's almost eminent domain if you approve this asphalt plant or the quarry expansion, because what am I going to do with that property? Who's going to live there? You're just taking property from me, even though I'm paying taxes on it, but what am I going to do with it? So you guys got to think about that, because I'm thinking about it. So I'm looking at two options today. One, I'm going to put in a big housing development there that's going to just shake everybody's truth. It's because legally I can. I've already talked to the planning board about it. I know I'll be fought all the way, but I can afford a lot of lawyers. So I have no problem with that. Or two, I'll just hire lawyers and fight you, because you're taking my property, and I'm still paying taxes on that property, but it's unlivable. And what am I going to do with it, especially if you expand this quarry? I did not complain about the original quarry. I'm going to complain about the expansion forever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. I'm not very good at public speaking, so I'll apologize for that. I'm Brianna Meister. I live at 71 Queen Street. And I just wanted to echo everything that they said before. I know you guys outlined kind of the process, but it seems as though once things kind of get past the first step, it's a very quick kind of yes, even though 6 months may not seem very quick. I think this is a really unique opportunity to work with you guys and to work with Shaw Brothers and the quarries to all work together. I think politics in general is really like you're either for or against it, and I think that this would be a really unique time for the town to all come together, and it seems like doing that before the ball gets rolling would be really great. So I'm part of the group that Hannah referenced, the Gorham Community Alliance Quarry Impact on Health and Safety, and we believe that the following actions should be taken. We sent this to you guys. Town officials, quarry owners, and neighbors should gather information, research, and data detailing the impact of quarry and asphalt plants on neighboring, undeveloped, and residential properties. 2, the town should hire an independent quarry expert to review existing quarry regulations and ensure they comply with current health and safety standards and are appropriate for the quarry size and location. Institute real-time monitoring of PM 2.5 airborne particles, which should occur at the pit's edge and be monitored daily by town code enforcement. Number 4, review the current blasting velocity at the pit. The allowable PPV should be below 1. This would involve a trade-off: more days of blasting at lower velocity, impacting fewer neighbors and reducing impact for all neighbors. Number 5, hire outside experts to perform an environmental impact study of the area. How are local threatened wildlife populations impacted? Is water quality a concern? Are wells being impacted? And number 6, the real estate valuations of all abutters within a 1 mile radius of the quarry should be reviewed. Written guidelines exist regarding reduced valuations of homes near a quarry. So just to summarize, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I think it is a great time to work together, and I think, yeah, I just appreciate that. And I echo what Charlie said too. It seemed like when we came to ask just for a review, it sounded like that the town can't really enforce what's already there, so it doesn't make sense to kind of add on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Danny Shaw with Shaw Brothers. I'd like to thank Councilor Gagnon for bringing this forward. There's a lot of misconceptions here, and with the exception of the lady from Gateway, who we did have somebody that has complained in the past in Gateway, I've never heard from these people. And Charlie did hear about this because I went to his house more than 3 times to share with him what we had bought and what our plans were. And when he said we're taking his land away, well, it was actually his dad's land. His dad was on the council at the time, And I went and sat and talked to his father, and his father did not recuse himself, and he voted in favor. So it's changed hands, and it's been gifted to Charlie. One of the things the neighbors, and up until yesterday, Hannah did reach out and said she would like us to be involved with their meetings, which I think is great. But one of the things that the neighbors don't understand, this is not going to change, whether we get this approval, it isn't going to change the crushers. It isn't going to change the existing quarry, which has many years left in it. It isn't going to change the hot top plant. We're still going to be open 24 hours a day. We are industrial zoned. The people that say we've ruined their lives, I'd like to bring them back to when LaChance Brick used to operate, and they started, I don't know when. I know when they shut down the kiln to change over to natural gas, they had operated 24 hours a day for 32 years, burning Bunker 6. Bunker 6 is pretty nasty stuff. And they rototilled clay every day, which we still rototill. We're rototill for them tomorrow up in Danville, where they have the Morin brick. So the clay, if anybody that's lived there knows when the wind blew, it blew across the road at 237, and there's been times you'd have to pull over. They were manufacturers. They were an awesome company, and they did a great job. But they work 24 hours a day. They've been there since, I believe, the 40s, maybe the 30s. So this has been an industrial facility for many, many years. And to say that we're worse than they were, I don't think so. And I think the people that live around there would tell you that we've cleaned it up. We really try to do a good job. And to change our approvals on the crushers and the asphalt plant is nothing what we're talking about here. We're talking about moving over to a 20-acre piece of land, a 50-acre piece of land, and building a 25-acre quarry, all buffered. 6 to 8 months ago, it was approved in this zone. And when the zoning changed 6 or 8 months ago, it is no longer approved. Now it's a manufactured housing zone. And I know there's some councils that would rather see manufactured housing. And some councils said, well, can you do half and half? We can certainly do that. We can put modulars out front if that's what the town wants. Our plan was for buffers.
Mr. Shaw, you've had 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just a reminder, I'm a member of the public now, not a town councilor. So basically what we're looking for here is an opportunity to have the conversation. That's what we want to do. We want to have the conversation. We want to get input. We want to talk to our neighbors. Sending this to the ordinance committee gives us the ability to do that. We've opened, Dan Shaw gave his phone number out at the last meeting. Nobody's called. We want to work with our neighbors here. That's what we're trying to do as part of this. So I just want to make that very clear. Nobody's trying to sneak anything through. What we're trying to do is get public input and try to do the right thing. So with that said, I just want to say thank you, and that's what we're trying to accomplish tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public want to speak on this item? All right, we are going to go to council deliberations at this point, so there'll be no more public comment. Go ahead, Councilor Gagnon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I sponsored this item so that we could have a discussion as to how we can look at, I guess, this area for what Shaw Brothers is looking to do. I think it's a great idea to bring it to the ordinance committee and have the chair bring together public input, bring together information that can help shape this contract zone. Many years ago, when we had Planet Recycling here in the industrial park, that was a hill I had to climb, so to speak, to make sure that we didn't open up our own, at Public Works, area to dump all of the waste from that area, and it would have polluted that area up at Public Works. I've been a staunch opponent of how things are done, but I feel that the level by which this quarry has been maintained, as well as the abilities of the people that work there, that some kind of solution can be done to allow for something to happen here. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Siegel, go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, I have a question for Councillor Gagnon. Why is this a contract zone instead of a zone change?
I couldn't hear what you said.
Why is this a contract zone instead of a zone change
Thank you.
for the lot?
For the lot?
Yeah.
There's more options that you can do to take into account for this lot using a contract zone. As you know, we've had a few contract zones come through. The Roby subdivision, I think you were a part of, and I think several that I've been part of in the past. I think it's a better avenue than just asking for a piecemeal zoning change. You can get more intricate. So.
And Chair, through you to the town manager, how is this lot currently zoned, and when it was mentioned during public comment that it changed zoning, when did it change recently?
Thank you. The planning or the community development director is smiling at me because he knows I don't have an answer for it. So I'm going to ask him to run up real quick and give you the zone. I want to say village expansion.
Close, urban residential
that's close.
expansion. So urban residential expansion, it was probably done in the last 2 years as part of the rezone from the comp plan.
Understood. Thank you. To my fellow councilors, my concern with this is one of process. Really putting aside what the quarry is, just when we entertain contract zones, typically I think about the most recent two that we've seen, which has been, Roby and Junction Bowl, or Station Square, the larger lot. It's because the owner of the lot wants to do something that is not allowed, wants to do something more intricate that's not allowed within the current zoning. This, to me, is really just a zone change. And I can't imagine that we would allow this for any other lot. Like if any other landowner in the